So this is a really fun session, I believe. We have some wonderful speakers, and this is a session on gender equality, fostering women's leadership and decision-making, and protecting women as vulnerable populations. So just a little bit of background, I'm going to just speak very shortly. In recognition that women are underrepresented in decision-making about chemicals and waste, and the need to address the vulnerability of women and children to chemical exposures. In 2017, Olga Speranskaya, former IPEN co-chair, and I, with discussion among a group of with input from a group of women who came together during the IPEN Global Meeting in 2016, and then further discussion with POs, we developed a thought starter paper for an IPEN gender initiative to ensure the realization of the goal of gender equality. IPEN developed a gender initiative to empower women in our work to achieve a toxic-free future. IPEN's gender initiative will enhance the role of women and women's leadership in local, regional, national, and global efforts to reduce exposures to harmful chemicals and wastes. So subsequently, then, we set up a gender listserv, an IPEN gender listserv, and a women's caucus. We had a wonderful meeting at the BRS COP where we brought women from all regions together, and also another gathering happened in Uruguay. And there's so much more that we can do. But today, this is really about the work of IPEN participating organizations on the ground who are doing some really wonderful work to foster women's leadership and address the vulnerability of women. So I'm going to turn it over first to Semia Gharbi with AEEFG in Tunisia, and she's also the MENA regional hub. So Semia, thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you for all of you. So I will try to be short. So AEEFG is the Association for Environmental Education for Future Generation, hosting IPEN for MENA region. So I will try to give you, for the MENA region, an idea about the work of women. So the women leading IPEN POs in the region are about 75% of the global POs in the region. So the women, we have 19 women leading the POs there. So here over the region. So just, sorry. So this is on your right, so it is the photo of our regional meeting, and this is the women representing the regional meeting, but from this time we have more women involved. So why the women should be leadership in MENA region? So because women are 50% of men. The Arabic women are daily exposed, even over the world, but they are also, for cosmetics, one of the high consumers for these products. And they are in the agricultural fields, industrial activities, and also they at home, so they use a lot of detergents and cleaning products. And also, at the same time, they are the key actors to implement sustainable development. So just last year at BRS meeting, we found, so an idea came up, so we found that a lot of women delegates from Arabic region attended for the first time. So the idea gets why we don't put them on the same platform. So this is the photo of the Arabic delegates with the IPEN staff. So we didn't want to miss the opportunity. And fortunately, it was the starting of Ramadan. So we have done IPEN Ramadan dinner. So here, we were so sitting together, so the Arabic delegates and the IPEN. Day after the dinner, only one. So we get, since we were fasting, so we worked. So sometimes it's good to have a fast, so we can work. So we worked first. So we found a name for this platform. It is the Arabian Women and Chemicals Platform, AUPWAE. And also, we have done the general vision of this platform. And as you see, so with thematics, approaches, and indicators. And at the same time, we have done a group WhatsApp. So with 13 delegates now. And even in every meeting, whenever we meet a new one, delegates coming, so we propose for her to join this platform. What is the add value of the MENA region? The MENA region is divided between Africa and Asia. And in Africa, we have the relationship also with the Mediterranean region. So we have very many contacts, so we can build a lot. And these delegates, they can be in this different region. So they can spread the information, they can be a leadership, and they can be a champion. So what we need is here. So just an IPEN push for our platform. So with BRS Secretariat, because whenever we start, we will continue. And we tried with the director, and since last year we tried to contact them, and they didn't respond. So we are here for them. And we will push. So, this is a real photo from Tunisia. It is a recent photo. Whenever you give the opportunity for women to be a leadership, they will do and they will be more. And this is a woman handled by men. And because we gave the opportunities. So, all the women over the world, I like this. Wonderful, ongoing, meaningful, encouraging. And whenever you give them something, they are non-stop. So, shukran.
That was great. Thank you so much. And next, we may need some technical support to bring up the next presentation. Bjorn. Thank you. Next, I am pleased to introduce Rolande from Welfare Togo, and she will talk about some of her work there, and I'm very happy to hear about that today.
Thank you. Okay, good morning. Good afternoon. Okay, my name is Rolande Aziaka. I'm Togolese, current president of Welfare Togo. It is an NGO in Lomé, youth organization in Lomé. Our mission, I put it here, our mission is to fight all forms of discrimination, exploitation, defend human and ecological rights, promote social justice, democracy, peace and security, so as to create a good environment for the government, other stakeholders to put in place policies, legislation and programs that will ensure to attain the sustainable development. So it is our mission. In our work, we focus a lot on women because we want to show the young women leadership, which is really problematic in Togo. So we want to change and to bring a change in the system. So our work currently, we have a project with US Embassy in Togo. And the program is, in French we call it Les Femmes Émergentes, How Women Rise. So this one I just started before I came here. We have the meeting on 25 January. We train the young girls from the secondary school and high school it is like awareness, early awareness in the girls so that they can be autonomous and to take over their leadership themselves. So it is our action, it is a current project with embassy. We will do it all over the country. We start from Lomé. Yes, okay. Here we have also another area is women access to land and clean water. It's very important for us because the women access to land and land tenure, clean water is really a challenge for my country. So women and especially young girls, they have a serious problem. Me myself, I pass through it. So it has become my challenge. I don't want all the girls, the older girls or the young women to suffer like I did when I was very child. So this one, there are some of the field projects we carry out. This one is also engaging the youth and promoting leadership skills for young girls, especially in the schools. So we pass from school to schools. It is a specific program to talk to the girls, the students, to coach them also to be more responsible. This project, we got Energy Global Award with the school project in 2017. With this project, we did many things. The target was 200 schools involved. But we succeed, we achieved 150, which is a big achievement for us in Togo. Here it is a new project we are doing, we call it Signature Trees. Now we are with 50 schools involved, and it is a project to encourage students to love trees. Each student and teacher plant a tree, it is a concept of her or his choice in the school and or nearby community, and the tree will be named after him or her and after the botanical, also the botanical as well as the local name. Like my name, my name is Chatube. So if I plant the tree, I will name the tree Chatube, and I will take care of the tree. If I finish, I leave the school and I come back, I will see after 5 or 3 years if the tree is grown up. And it's like my heart or my soul is in the school. So it is a new project we are doing now with Future Forest in Korea and Green Belt movement in China. This one is about myself. From 2018 and 2019, I was elected African Regional Representative of CSO Panel, civil society organization accredited to United Nations to combat desertification. So it is a panel of CSO, civil society panel, and my mandate was 2 years. And under this panel, I did a lot. I take the leadership because in one of our action is on land tenure and land right, particularly for women. So this one I represent the Africa group, Africa region. We were 5, Latin America, Africa, China, Asia. It is 5 continents. So we are elected 5 representatives of 5 regions, UN 5 regions. So it is a specific program of UNCCD. And under this, I work a lot on land right. That's why I discovered that chemical safety also can play a big role in this convention, because land degradation neutrality is a new program we found they have today. They can, IPEN or chemical safety, those who are working for this can push the agenda under this convention with SDG 15. Thank you.
Thank you. This is very inspiring. So next, I'm very pleased to introduce Anna Odur. She is with the Association of Uganda Professional Women in Agriculture and Environment.
Hi everyone. I'll just talk from here. It's fine. So I'm Anna. So I'm from an NGO, which is the Association of Uganda Professional Women in Agriculture and Environment. So I'm an environment associate as well as the board member. So I'm glad to be here. So basically, I'm just going to share about an approach that we had, that we used in terms of public participation and how it really worked. So mainly something small about our organization. We were started in 1992, so that's when we were registered. So we are a group of women environmentalists and agriculturists. So we work together specifically to empower the rural woman and the girl child. So that is mainly our target, our focus. And the activities include like capacity building, trainings, research, advocacy. So it's like we work with the communities and we also advocate with policymakers. So we are kind of like in the middle. We did a study like in 2014 in regards to public participation in environmental issues. So what we found there cuts across. And from that we wrote a paper, and that was specifically on water, and it dealt with decision making in the water sector in Uganda, and it was published by the World Water Assessment Program. That was 2016 among the case studies. So maybe I'll share just kind of what is within this approach. So it is participatory knowledge sharing and capacity building. So with this So with this, some of the key aspects are participatory learning, collective discussion, train-the-trainer sessions, action planning. Of course, there's a deliberate effort to include women in participation. We see that traditional knowledge is also very important, and the use of existing decision-making platforms. So finally, maybe I share a case study of how we dealt with this. We, in collaboration with WWF and UN Environment, we raised awareness of the Stockholm Convention and persistent organic pollutants among vulnerable communities in Kampala. So this, in the outskirts of Kampala. So this was in Wakiso district. So the reason why we chose this was because this particular district is the vegetable basket of Kampala. So all the vegetables mainly go to the big city in Kampala. So you find that pesticides are used at a great level, and of course there are women, men, and farmers who are there as well. So what we did, we followed this approach, and we started with, we began with inception meetings. So I think it's very, very important to include local community in decision making, like right from the beginning. So we introduced our project to the district leaders. We engaged them because they would help us with mobilizing the community. And after that, we organized sensitization sessions. We had a representative from the government, National Environmental Management Authority. We had representation from Ministry of Agriculture and Environment, Crop Protection Department. So they were very useful in terms of giving technical information to this group of vulnerable community. And we decided to as well create messages and communication strategy with the community. So it was like sitting down with them, finding out, do you understand what is meant by persistent organic pollutants? Translating this in the local language, which was really a challenge as well. So sitting down with them, finding out what tools really work for them in terms of disseminating this information. So that was really useful, as well as a trainer workshop. Yeah. So lastly, lessons and way forward. I think it's very important to be deliberate in terms of inclusiveness in public participation in decision making. It's very useful to be deliberate, make sure that you have the numbers for women and men in attendance, engaging technical staff, having that relationship with government departments. We also encouraged the community to develop action plans when we trained them. So this was important in knowing like what would they do differently. Maybe to mention, we found that endosulfan was still being used. However, in the NIP, the National Implementation Plan for the Stockholm Convention of Uganda, it was indicated that it was being phased off. But however, there wasn't an indication like when it would end or something like that. So it was useful to know and share this with the government department as well. And another thing, there is need for sex disaggregated data, like how does chemicals affect women, how does it affect men, and we need numbers. So there's a lack of this really. So I think that is something moving forward that would really be important. And yes, I'm really glad that IPEN has developed a document on gender and chemicals. I was looking at it recently, so it's really exciting, something to be involved in and to really see how it can all fit in with the work we do. Thank you.
Really, so glad to hear about your work. And next we have Griffins, who is with the Center for Environment, Justice and Development based in Kenya. Griffins, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Pam. I'm standing between you and lunch, so I will try and make it interesting and fast enough. I will share with you a little bit about CEJAD's work in the area of artisanal and small-scale gold mining and the efforts to bring gender equality and women participation in decision-making, particularly in the context of the many processes that are ongoing now in Kenya with regard to ASGM. That is development of the National Action Plan and the project that currently is ongoing, known as the Planet Goal. So I'm Griffins, as I said, working for that organization. First, I will give you this one. So I'll try and give you a brief overview of what CEJAD has done for the past 10 years, and when we began to look at the issue of gender, particularly the work that we do, the SGM. So we first did an IPEN project, which was inventory and mapping of the practices of gold mining and mercury use in SGM in Kenya, which resulted in a report and a map to show the areas in Kenya where gold mining is taking place. In that process, we also developed a video documentary to show the prevailing conditions of miners, and particularly women in terms of the activities that they do with the SGM in Kenya. We've also conducted quite a number of awareness, raising activities and sensitization on the issues of the mercury and the health effects, as well as the environmental effects. Did a study recently last year on the issue of trade, looking at the trade and supply of mercury and the legal routing of mercury to ASGM. And importantly, in the context of what I'm going to share, the work that we did with mercury in women, air monitoring for mercury poisoning, which I think was presented by Lee and has been shared, and there were some reports which were here. So this is just a snapshot of the pictures, shows the video, as well as the report that we did on the trade and supply. So in our work, we've come across the different gender roles and the division of labor with regard to how the miners work in the SGM sector. So here we find that there is a picture of women doing processing of gold. And the reason why there is kind of division of labor and gender role is that men are more involved in what perceived as other activities. The excavation of gold, because we carry out deep, sharp gold mining, and men are the ones doing that, and women are more involved in the processing of gold, whereby the stage at which mercury is introduced. So if you look at the impact of mercury on human health and the environment, women are more impacted, and they are the ones who have they come across the exposure. So here there is an amalgamation process and the open burning. And there are two reasons why, based on our work, why we find this level of gender division. Is one, the issue of the perceived hard work or hard rock, where now men are more the ones in the front line in terms of excavating. The other is the cultural norms. If you look at across all the mining sites, that women are, due to cultural norms, are not expected to go deep down the mining site, because if they come across that, men will say that there's nothing that will come from that ore. So they have been relegated to doing the work of processing. But I want to tell you that recently from the work, there is currently one mining site in Western Kenya, which is purely dominated by women. It's run by women in terms of excavation to the processing of gold. So there's kind of effort that's being done towards changing that cultural norm. This is the study that I mentioned, where we went and did the sampling of women of childbearing age, and the levels were, based on the results, were that much. And so we went to the community to share the findings and the result with the women that we sampled. And this is really what was an eye-opener for us to begin to do work with regard to the gender lens and look at how their rights can be protected, particularly in the efforts that are ongoing in Kenya, and the advent of the MENA Convention. So there we were just having a discussion with some of the women that we sampled. We went back and gave them the results, and there were questions that were posed to me, and I remember having discussed with Lee about what kind of response that we're gonna provide. So some of the questions were like, does mercury affect our brain, and if yes, why is the air being taken from me? Are signs of trembling, sign of mercury effect? Now that we found the knowledge about mercury in our level, in our body, what next? Are we going to die? So I was confronted with this question, but I had to look at how do I respond. So I had a discussion with them, and I told them that even if there's going to be kind of support, it's not going to come to you as an individual, but you need to come together as a group and begin to engage. So I think this was really a challenge, and many of the women there listened to this. And one woman called Eunice, whose levels was high, began to rally the respondents to form an association. And they formed a group known as, that is the initials, MOCA group, initials of the mining areas that we visited. Osiri, Kabogo, and Masara. So that's the name of that women group. And they are currently doing different activities, not only advocating for the issue of mercury elimination, but are also involved in other income generating activities that will be able to support their livelihoods. So they are recently, last year, with the support from us, so we participated quite actively in supporting the group to have the group formalized in terms of registration. You need to have a registration certificate if you are a self-help group or a women group that can be recognized legally in terms of engagement with any of the initiatives. Remember I mentioned that I looked at how they can be able to be engaging in the process of NAP and other processes. So there we were in UNEA, where the IPEN, Eunice came to Nairobi and she shared the challenges that they face in the sector, and she began to, actually she was changed completely in terms of how she views the work that the mercury issue. So this is a certificate that they recently got last year, now formally recognized as a self-help group, and they also got a project with the Jeff Small Grant Program, which currently with an organization, one of the cooperatives that provide them with a space where they conduct their meetings, because they meet every Wednesday, and they have religiously honored this meeting from the beginning when we started the work up to now. So every Wednesday they meet, and now the project is focusing on issues of capacity building, strengthening that group in terms of business skills and organizational development. They are involved in land rehabilitation. It was funded under the window of land rehabilitation in terms of bamboo planting and alternative livelihoods, and also piloting mercury free processing. So this project is being led by the cooperative known as MICA, but the co-organization is the MOCA group. So with that, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Griffin. So great to hear about your work. And I hope that we would have a little more time to make this conversational, but given the time frame, I think I will pose one question to each of the panel members, if you wouldn't mind sharing your thoughts. And that is if you could perhaps give us some ideas about how IPEN can further support your work to build women's leadership and to address the vulnerability of women. It'd be really interesting to hear your thoughts on that. So whoever would like to begin.
Maybe briefly, I think in the issue of data, if we could have a way of having this in place, I think that would be great. Maybe we think more on how this can be done, but the issue of having evidence regarding women and chemicals and how it's affected.
Yes, I think IPEN has many things to do, especially on gender, because if you take SDG 5, I think you can put SDG 5 on the list of the SDGs on which SciChem want to work, because one part when Joy was presenting, one part of SciChem focus on women, they want to involve women. And I think we can put SDG 5 because anything, we can do anything without women, especially the young girls. And chemical, for example, in agriculture, we know that women are many in agriculture, but most of us, of women, we are not aware of the danger when we are exposing ourselves to the chemical. For example, in my country, we have, we call it in French, maraîcher, les maraîchers. It is a kind of, I guess, the vegetables, like all this we are doing for salad. The women, they are really many there, but they are using pesticides. And our organization, we start working on it. But the problem is that most of them, they are not aware of the problem. That if you are using this is very bad. One area also in my country is rice farming. Rice farming. In one area we call it Kobye. When we went there for a campaign, it was really, there are women and there is a contamination of water. But in the area we don't have a clean water. Most of the lake or the river, they are contaminated by the farmers doing especially rice farming because they use a huge of water for their farming. So there is a challenge. And what I want to say also, for the SciChem, beyond SciChem, I think IPEN can push a campaign or advocacy on how women can take the lead. The successful success stories can be shown to people to see how women underground are working on this field, and this will give what I understand when in my organization, when I took the lead and I start talking, most of the women and the girls, they are more interested to hear more, to learn more, and some they come to me, how, Rolande, how do you do? How do you manage? So it is a process, learning process for me also to push and to give them a hope that anything can be possible. And so I can stop there. There are many things I think after when we start working and drafting, I can help. And before all this, because today everybody is climate change. Most of the rich money are going to climate change. When I was working under this convention of desertification, the most part is the land degradation. And one day I asked a question, we have a meeting, I asked a question, why you don't talk about chemicals here? They said, we don't know. I said, no. There is a convention, there is a network working on chemical safety. You cannot talk about soil management, land management, and ignore chemical effects on land. That's where I think IPEN can be a very good network for the world. Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to share just one thought that maybe the IPEN and the work that we started doing. One of the areas I think that we can build on, and we started that when we had a visit by Union SGM lead, particularly in the context of our work, is the issue of training and empowerment. That will encourage particularly the women miners to see their role that they can play in the national landscape with regard to the interventions that are coming on with regard to the reducing mercury use. So that can be continued, and I think it will be very helpful because I think the visit, the first one we undertook was much welcomed, and it really changed the landscape in terms of how we are now working, particularly with the women miners in Kenya.
Thank you. So I would like to add, so for the MENA region, we have a big gap of data. So even we have the Arab League, what we call it the Arab League, but it is politics more than it is for data. But even we have a department of chemicals, but last time I discussed it with the chair of this department, and she told me, she's a woman, and she told me it will be great that if you can fill this gap. So this is what we need urgently. So the data, it's very, very important. But for the policies, we already, as IPEN, we were engaged, and what we have now, so at this level. So the delegates are very, and so they trust us, and they came to us for support. For support. So this is something that we will continue on, and since I would like to stress on, since we have this platform of delegates, because they are engaged, they would like to push for, and the delegates, we know they can do many things. So it will be great, so if we can offer for them just a regional project to fill data and to continue. As I said, since we start, we will continue. Thank you.
With that, I think we should close the session, but I want to thank all of our panelists for your excellent presentations, all the work that you do, and for your thoughtful responses just now. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's give them all a round of applause, please.